They fined me $7,400 for a fence they installed. The kicker? It was their own contractor, and I had the receipts. I moved into Aspen Run 3 years ago. Quiet cul-de-sac. Great schools. I thought I'd made it. My wife and I were expecting our first kid, and this house, it was going to be our nest. That illusion shattered the morning I opened my mailbox and saw a letter from the HOA. Unregistered structure, immediate compliance required. I didn't even know what they meant. I hadn't built a thing. Until I read the fine print. They were talking about the rear fence. The one that came with the house. The one they claimed violated Section 3.6.2 of the HOA manual, something about non-standard post caps and unapproved panel height. I went cold. That fence was already up when I moved in. I hadn't touched it. Just mowed around it. The letter gave me 30 days to remove it or face escalating daily fines. I called the number listed, Melissa from the HOA office. I told her this had to be a mistake. She didn't even pretend to care. The rules are the rules, sir. Next week, the fine doubled. $4,800. Then $7,400. And then the notice hit my front door, lien pending. That's when the fear turned into fury. I started pulling old paperwork, inspection reports, disclosures. Nothing mentioned a non-compliant fence. Then I found something odd in the seller's final documents, a footnote in the repair log, HOA facilitated fence replacement, summer 2019. Paid via community reserve. I stared at it. Wait, they installed this? I made copies. Called the title company. They confirmed, yes, the HOA had bulk contracted fence replacements on my side of the neighborhood during a storm insurance payout. Mine was one of them. I drove straight to the next HOA board meeting. They didn't let me speak. Just waved me off like a mosquito. That night, flyers started showing up in mailboxes. A community alert warning residents that I was spreading misinformation and attempting to destabilize board trust. Neighbors stopped waving. One woman crossed the street to avoid me. Then I found the Facebook group. I wasn't just the villain. I was the example. They were warning others what happens when you challenge procedure. Knowledge nugget number 1, HOAs can legally fine you for violations they caused, unless you can prove negligence or bad faith, in writing. I went back to that repair log. Tracked down the original contractor, Rick Sweeney, owner of Storm Safe Fencing. I met him at a diner off Route 7. He flipped through my photos, nodded. Yep, that's our work. July 2019 batch. All billed through the HOA's storm reserve. He paused. You're not the first homeowner to call about this. I leaned in. What do you mean? 3 others. Same fines. Same fence. Same threats. That's when it clicked. The fence wasn't the problem. It was the loophole. A way to tap homeowners for fines on work that had been pre-approved and pre-funded. But why? I asked around. 2 board members had recently stepped down, midterm. No announcement. No reason. One of them, Deb, agreed to meet me. We sat in her garage, surrounded by gardening tools and half-empty moving boxes. It's all about the reserve fund, she whispered. They emptied it into private contracts. When the audit started, they needed a way to cover the gap. So they fined homeowners. She nodded. You were the low-hanging fruit. Paper trail was thin. Fence was visible. Easy money. I recorded everything. And then I checked the annual reports. Sure enough, the community reserve had dropped $310,000 over 2 years. No major projects. No disclosed repairs. Just, gone. Knowledge nugget number 2, HOA reserve funds are legally required to be itemized annually. Request those reports by certified letter and store backups off-site. I filed a complaint with the State Housing Authority. Nothing. Then I filed with the IRS. Why? Because the HOA was a registered nonprofit. And nonprofits can't use community funds for private enrichment. The letter I got back stunned me. Thank you for your documentation. We've opened an investigation. 2 weeks later, a quiet knock at my door. A plainclothes IRS agent. He didn't introduce himself by name. Just showed me the badge and asked for a copy of any HOA communication regarding special assessments or private contracts. He took everything. My USB drive. Copies of the flyers. The repair log. And then he smiled, like he already knew. You're not the only one. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. All assessments must reflect a clear, documented benefit to the entire membership, not just the board. Now I was in it. I filed for arbitration. Sent certified letters to every board member. Public record requests. FOIA filings. My printer never stopped humming. I found 3 more families fined for the same fence. One had even paid it, just to avoid court. We teamed up. Formed a homeowners committee. Made a website. Posted the documents. Rick Sweeney's statement. The missing fund charts. Within days, the story exploded. Local news. Reddit threads. Even a housing watchdog group reached out. We held our own meeting at the park pavilion. 37 residents showed up. We passed around folders. Spoke facts. One woman sobbed, her lien had ruined her refinance application. A retired judge in the crowd stood up and offered to represent us pro bono. We filed a formal injunction. And that's when the president of the HOA disappeared. No resignation letter. No contact. His house, suddenly listed. Vacant by week's end. At the emergency hearing, the judge ordered a freeze on all HOA fines and accounts pending audit. And then he said, "In my 40 years on the bench, I have never seen a more shameless abuse of fiduciary trust." Knowledge nugget number 3, in most states, HOA board members can be held personally liable for fiduciary fraud, even retroactively. The fence? The judge ordered full restoration of all funds. Every fine reversed. Every lien dropped. And then the news dropped a bombshell. The HOA president had funneled over $180,000 into a shell landscaping company, registered to his cousin. When agents raided the office, they found contracts, checks, even photos of fences marked with red tape, pre-selected targets. His voice cracked in court. I thought nobody would notice. The crowd gasped. After the verdict, we built something new. Not just fences. Trust. We held our first honest election in a decade. Launched a transparent budgeting site. Even started a scholarship fund for local trade students, with leftover restitution money. But just when it felt over, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a copy of our HOA bylaws. Page 67 was dog-eared. One clause highlighted. In the event of total board dissolution, enforcement authority may transfer to designated corporate trustees. I flipped the page. There was a name scrawled in ink. C. Brannan Trust Services. I Googled it. It didn't exist. Not yet. Next week, the city that tried to steal a solar farm. Stay sharp. Ask ChatGPT.